Hi there, I'm Hope, the Life Design Educator for Student Leadership and Involvement. Today we're going to review tips and best practices for your resume in just 15 minutes. Let's get started. In this resume workshop, we're going to focus on 4 key things. First, we'll understand the intention of a resume. Second, we'll review the steps to build your resume. Third, we'll review general content, layout, types, and tips of an effective resume. And lastly, we'll highlight VMOC, an online resume tool that you can use as you work to build the best resume possible. There are several different types of career communication that you'll need to utilize as you move forward. Today, we're focusing on the resume, which is a single page that presents your career highlights and demonstrates that you have experience with key aspects of the position you are applying for. The goal of a resume is to help an employer realize the potential you have to positively impact their organization. The purpose of a resume is to get you an interview, so you have to translate your experiences to an employer's language. This means that you need to look over the job description with a fine-tooth comb. Make sure that you understand exactly the skills and the responsibilities that they're asking someone to accomplish, so you can think about what you've done in your own life that directly applies. You would want to focus on skills, tasks, actions, results, relatable experiences, and you really want to tell your story, whether it's chronological, you've done things over a period of time, or whether you think it's best to describe yourself based on the skills that an employer is looking for. Ultimately, you need to ask yourself, what would this employer want or need to know about me, and make sure that those key points make it into the content of your resume. I'm a process person, so I wanted to create a list of steps that you can take as you work to build your resume. First, you want to start off by brainstorming everything you've been involved in, accomplished, learned from your experience, and more. You'll likely have a long list. Oftentimes, students feel like, I haven't really done that much, but I promise you have. You can include high school experiences if you are a freshman in college. However, by the time you're a sophomore, we would recommend utilizing experiences from college unless there's something very unique that you experienced in high school. After the brainstorm, you want to choose the most relevant experiences from your list. You've already taken a look at the job description that you're applying to. Make sure you choose experiences that match the job you're applying for. Once you have those experiences, you want to focus on writing detailed bullet points to explain how each of those experiences qualifies you for the job. What did you do in that role? What or how many people were you responsible for? What outcomes did your efforts lead to? We'll talk more about how to do this effectively in just a few minutes. Fourth, you want to proofread. Employers are paying attention to your detail, and so your resume should be error-free to show that you are caring a lot about this process. And lastly, you want to leverage tools and networks to continue improving your resume. Remember, this is a process. You'll have multiple iterations of your resume as you go through life and have more experiences to add. So don't think of this as a static document. What's most important is that every resume you submit should be perfectly tailored to the position you are applying for. If you're not sure what to consider when brainstorming for your resume, think about all the experiences listed on the slideshow. Most resumes include your educational background as well as relevant work experiences. However, you can include anything that's listed on this slide. Remember, the goal is to show the employer that you have successfully engaged with similar tasks and responsibilities of the job you're applying for, and that your engagement has led to positive outcomes. That could be through research, it could be through an internship, it could be through shadowing or your academic coursework. Perhaps you studied abroad, perhaps you have hobbies. Highlight those if they are relevant to the position you're applying for. As a final note on resume content, I want to highlight 3 key pieces. First, make sure that you show what you accomplished as you work to write your resume moving forward. Describe what difference you made, how you met challenges. Remember, this is your story to tell. Second, include any specialized skills or certifications and talk about how you used them so that you can show the employer you have what it takes for this position. And lastly, leadership roles are always welcomed in your resume. Focus on including a few of those. Now that you've brainstormed and chosen the content relevant to the position you're applying to, you'll need to begin writing bullet points to describe what you did, contributed to, and learned in each experience. One way to build your bullet points is the STAR method, a storytelling method that will help an employer understand your working style and impact. STAR is an acronym. The S stands for skill or situation. You want to define the general context: who, what, when. T is for task. Identify the key objective and the issue that you addressed in this role. A is for action. Describe the action you took or initiated, emphasizing the skills you used to complete the task. Details are important here. And lastly, R, result. Summarize the outcome. Think about what you did that would add value for an employer. Take a moment to pause your video and read the STAR story that a marketing intern wrote about their experience. When you're ready, press play to move on. In your resume writing process, I would recommend writing down as many stories as you can that are relevant to the positions you've chosen to highlight on your resume. Then you can pull out key pieces of the story to use as bullet points, just as this marketing intern did. So there are 2 bullet points on the screen that I think are effective for a few reasons. First, they start with a verb. Second, they use numbers to describe specific contributions and outcomes that they have made. And third, they identify key skills such as Hootsuite and Buffer that relate to the position the person is applying to. These bullet points help an employer understand that this person had a pretty comprehensive experience that relates directly to their position. Once you've written your bullet points, you're ready to focus on the formatting and layout of your resume. Pause the video now to review some key tips, and when you're ready, press play to move on. Another consideration you'll have to make is how you'd like to sequence your experiences. If most of your experiences are directly related to the position you are applying to, you'll choose a chronological format, describing what you've accomplished from most recent backward. If your experiences are not directly related to the position you are applying to, consider using a functional or skills format where you group your entries based on skills you possess and describe how you gathered those. If you're unsure of which to use, you might use a hybrid of the 2, or reach out to your Life Design educator for guidance. Let's consider some additional layout tips. In your education section, you want to focus on including your college experience and, if you graduated 2 years or less at the time of writing your resume, your high school experience. For your college portion, make sure that you include the name of the university, your major or minor, GPA if it's above a 3.0, and your expected date of graduation. You may choose to list relevant coursework if it is directly tied to the position you are applying for to demonstrate that you have key foundational understandings. In your high school entry, make sure that you note that you received your high school diploma, the date you graduated, and your GPA if it is above a 3.0. You can also include relevant coursework, which usually would be an AP or IB course. In this section, make sure that your formatting, so bolding, capital letters, alignment, stays consistent with the rest of your entries. In terms of layout for your work and research experiences, make sure that you include the name of the organization or company, your job title, where the experience was located, the dates that the experience occurred, and the bullet points that you wrote. The layout of your extracurricular activities is the same as your work experiences. Remember, consistency is key. As you look to get your resume ready for the proofreading stage, there are a few additional considerations. First, programs like Canva can be helpful in creating a more designed resume look. You can also find online templates. Remember, your resume is the first impression an employer has of you, so be sure that your look is crisp if you decide to use a designed resume. Second, if you have an engineering, technical, computer science background, you would want to include the skills that you've gained or practiced. It would be all coding tools, softwares, languages, etc. that you've worked with that will help the employer understand you have foundational knowledge for that position. Lastly, you may want to consider adding links to portfolios or projects that you've worked on in the past to demonstrate that you have viable work products similar to what the employer is looking for. Make sure to hyperlink your documents rather than pasting the URL into your resume for a more streamlined look. And if you have a lot of material you want to share, you might want to put it in an online space and hyperlink that entire portfolio so the employer can look at it on their own time. Once you've proofread your resume a ton of times, your resume is ready to be reviewed. Use VMock, an online artificial intelligence platform where you can upload a version of your resume and it'll compare your resume to thousands of resumes to help give you personalized feedback on how to make the most effective resume possible. Once you've run it through VMock, feel free to reach out to your Life Design Educator to talk about the suggestions it has for you. We're here to help you make the most of your resume and to ensure that an employer can see your potential. This summer, the Life Design Lab is still completely virtual, so make sure to check out our website for our daily office hour offerings so that we can connect about your resume. Thanks for joining me today to talk about resume basics. Don't forget to run your resume through VMock and to reach out to your Life Design Educator with any additional questions.